the Overwatch League's brightest stars came out strong in its opening act.
This is peak Overwatch.
Oh, throw the seedings out the window because we ain't paying attention to them anymore.
But this summer blockbuster has it all. The sizzling rivalries.
You're not allowed to do that. That's bonkers.
The quest for redemption.
They can see the championship slipping away from them.
The road to glory.
The Shanghai Dragons have done it. The reverse sweep.
This summer, expect to be amazed. Expect stars to burn bright.
Prophet just melts everybody with the Dragon Blade! 5 instantly gone!
Expect the unexpected.
They were pushed to the very edge.
It's like the battle of the Titans hurling lightning bolts at one another.
4 squads remain.
What a turnaround.
Who will be the last team standing in Asia?
All right, calm it down. Calm it down.
This is the Summer Showdown.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Overwatch League. A very merry time zone agnostic greeting to you all. I'm Mitch Leslie here with Matt Morello. We're worldwide. It doesn't matter what hour of the day it is because there is a summer showdown to be decided here in the Asia region. And we're kicking it off with a grudge that started off in the May Melee. Now it carries over. Our first match of tonight, Matthew, is going to be the Seoul Dynasty versus the Shanghai Dragons.
Honestly, all 3 of these matches tonight, the 2 semifinals and the finals should be tremendous games. Shanghai versus Seoul is a tremendous rematch, right? It's a rematch from the May Melee. That's
an epic 7-map series, right?
This one's only a 5-mapper, though. It's a semifinal. And then you have Guangzhou versus New York. That is a series we just saw, I believe maybe it was like last week, where it was Guangzhou who was able to take it 3-2.
That's right.
That'll be a really good game.
It was a tight one between those rosters, and now, of course, Hero Pool's still not in effect, and who knows what to expect. Obviously, for those who are fans of the Spark and the Hunters, respectively, neither of those teams really managed to have much luck, and the London Spitfire really only put a dent in the Seoul Dynasty in the lead-up to the matches here. The last time that these two teams went head-to-head, though, Matt, the Seoul Dynasty and the Shanghai Dragons, it was a little upside. A 3-1 victory for Shanghai not so long ago, but we're talking about the 18-2 Dragons right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Dragons are just nuts. They're the San Francisco Shock equivalent, maybe better, depending on who you talk to, in the APAC region. Seoul Dynasty's roster today, nothing too surprising. But Ocean and Slime in terms of the supports. We saw Slime play the other day, so see him come in and play the Brig again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw Seoul dealt with the Genji play pretty comfortably against the London Spitfire. So, although it was pitted up against Prophet, I mean, you have a roster here in Seoul that deals pretty well in this kind of meta now. Of course, the more recent addition of Slime and Fitz has been consistently solid across the entire season. So we expect great things from them, but again, they have not really soared to the highest of heights that maybe was expected of them. Let's think back to when they first actually touched down in the Asia region. Everyone thought they were the best team in the world. Now, they did get a win against the Shanghai Dragons way back then, but since then, Shanghai have been pretty much uninterrupted in terms of their dominance all the way through. I think their most recent, the most recent loss was, May 9th. It was against the Seoul Dynasty. So the Dragons since then have looked really comfortable. The only teams really giving them problems is sort of Seoul. They had like a 5-map series to Chengdu last week, I think, but it's kind of hard to get a feel for them.
They had a few close games in there, but really, I mean, they've been crazy good, right? I mean, this is a team that they kind of retool a little bit after last year. They just add a ton of pieces. Like Fleta comes over from the Seoul Dynasty. You get Izayaki, who's from the LA Valiant last year. Void from the Gladiators. A lot of good players on the Shanghai Dragons.
Yeah, I mean, and again, Void has really been able to come alive in this role, with the Shanghai Dragons. I mean, we expect great things from him. We've already seen that. Of course, Fleta and DM combining will be in the roster tonight, so we may expect to see a little bit more of that hit scan pressure to be applied across the maps that we have. Now, the first map's going to be Ilios, so we are still about a minute out as we are just making sure the players are all ready to go. But I mean, Shanghai obviously is still aiming, of course, for another Summer Showdown spot. My only regret, Matthew, is that one of these teams won't be in the final match. This is elimination match.
Well, I will say, if Shanghai wins, I think there are a lot of people who want to see Shanghai, New York in a situation where Hacksaul's playing Genji for New York and see how that goes. And there's also a ton of people who believe Guangzhou can kind of match and get up to that level of a team as like the Shanghai Dragons. So I think a lot of people will be hyped for either of those matchups as well.
Yeah, and maybe that is even better.
I would say so, yeah.
Especially with the last time that Guangzhou and Seoul played, it was actually Guangzhou that won that series, right? It was also a 5-mapper. So a lot of these teams are playing each other close. It really feels like everyone going ham, and then Hangzhou and Chengdu sort of looking from the outside in.
And we saw Guangzhou last night, and they absolutely crushed,
was
right?
not
I mean,
close.
Eileen was nuts. Krong had a fantastic game. Shu as well.
I really don't think that Chengdu played well. They don't look good in this meta, so I don't know how much of a test that really was. You could say
when Chengdu plays well, they don't exactly like convince you either, right? I mean,
you know, it's true. Yeah, it's always flying by the seat of your pants kind of stuff. But now, turn our attention to this series. It is still a first to 3, ladies and gentlemen. The Seoul Dynasty and the Shanghai Dragons now renewing the rivalry that bubbled over in the May Melee, but only one team can advance to the finals of the Summer Showdown. It all starts on Ruins.
And how good of a story is Fearless? I mean, because you look at this team and you're just kind of like, Fearless, main tank, what? Like, he has transformed into such a tremendous player. Really like the difference maker in the finals of the May Melee the last time these two teams met up.
It's a redemption story because he got a second chance and he took it and ran with it, and now it's turned into a world-class main tank player.
You rarely see that, like a player that starts in Overwatch League, goes down into contenders, and then makes their way back up.
On the same roster, no
even
less.
rare on the same roster as Marvel will take out Izzyaki at the start. So it's a big pickup here for Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, Seoul tried to push up the right-hand side or the left-hand side from where we're looking now, and it looks like Izzyaki just got punished by the hyperspheres bouncing up from that wall. So Seoul try and get aggressive early on. They lose a Batiste, but they still have a chance to get everyone back on the point here. Izzyaki will be returning in a moment, but Fleder is getting to throw plenty of shurikens here. Doesn't really matter because the frontline fight was where it all went down, and Lee Jae-gon being the first casualty set the Dynasty up.
Yes, Seoul take the point here first. I think where you would be scared if you're a Shanghai fan is that look at some of the heroes that work for Seoul Dynasty in this meta, really work for everybody. You know, Badoshin, a very good Batiste player. Marvel and Gesture, they are at their best when they're on the Orisa and the Sigma. And then Prophet doesn't have to play Echo. He can go and play Genji, which we've seen Prophet do amazing things on Genji in the past.
Yeah, it's right into his wheelhouse here. We'll have to see if Fleder can actually step up and be that more aggressive player, should I say. We just know him as more of a measured and consistent individual, but he really needs to hit some headlines in this series to make that big impact. Bubble down, Void's able to find him early, but Toasted was allowed to find that pick on Jae-gon somehow, and Exo Boots take him up to the high ground. Solar finding a lot of these important picks in these fights.
We'll see if they're able to keep onto the point, though. Looks like they're going to have to send some players on a contest as Prophet gets really low. You think he'll fall soon, as the point does get flipped in favor to the Shanghai Dragons. Now they finally deal with Badoshin after he picks up a few kills there towards the end. And Shanghai able to take that, and they don't even have to use any ultimates to do it. After that first pick by Void, they played it perfectly.
Yeah, and despite not having control of the point to start with, they actually get more damage across their roster in a position now to have a Griddick Flux in this next fight. And of course, the Dragon Blade. So Soul are going to approach on that right-hand side, and they'll play real close by Gesture. DM hasn't popped in for sight yet, so doesn't really feel the need for it right now. Maybe he just wants to answer Fitz as he's the, he's the Widow in control of the point. He'll just use it responsively.
Yeah, he's going to use it to counter Fitz's. Yep.
There it is.
As soon as the walls come out, it comes out for both teams right after Izzyaki uses the M Matrix, and that is a big Rabbinic Flux.
Void drops them all down. It was an immortality field there that's now been removed. Badoshin's done his job for the time being, and Fleder now looking for a Dragon Blade, but he's knocked back. Looks like a whip shot from Slime. Punished him, but Badoshin catches him. Now Prophet is going to come in with the blade, stunned up briefly, but it's a pretty gainful deflect, and he's now to get rid of a lot of stuff, Matt. Got rid of the Bongo and the drone, but DMs are going to find him later on in the fight. Now Soul need to be careful. Behind him, Void. He's going to be a problem now as the pincer comes in from the Dragons, forces another immortality field, and DM finds Fitz. Soul don't really have anywhere to go right now. They're forced to play back in the corner. Slime will get Jake on, but that's probably all that Seoul are going to get here.
And they decided to stack Seoul with their Amp Matrix and Supercharger, and the Amp Matrix is in such a position where Shanghai just like kind of bullied them out of being able to even use it. I really like the position that Shanghai decided to take there once they got it. And look at this, Void with another Gravitic Flux for the fight coming up.
If Fitz is going to play Widow, he has to make a difference at some point, Matt. Right now, he hasn't. No final blows for him. A glancing blow on Diem, which is just going to keep him honest, but Fitz really needs a big pick in this fight. Neither of them have infra here, but it's going to be the Flux from Void, like you mentioned. He was playing a sick off-angle sticker in that previous fight. It was so punishing. Slides down to Soul's with Immortality field, and it is done. Void is going to have an accretion to chase Jester out, and plenty of bluff and blunder early from the Dynasty, Matt. They take the point early, but Fitz got dominated in the Widow fight.
Yeah, I mean, that one, well, I think the Widow fight's not really ideal, considering that Diem is like a Widowmaker specialist. Like, Widowmaker kind of, I don't want to say one trick, right? But you think, when you think of Diem, you think of his Widowmaker play. So trying to take him in the head-to-head is pretty rough. See how it plays out in this next round for Seoul Dynasty. And I think just, you know, every time I look at the Shanghai Dragons roster, Mitch, I just think of like how some of these players are on other teams, and like the other teams,
people
like,
thought Void was bad on the
right. I was just gonna say, like,
Gladiators?
the other teams didn't want these guys.
Izayaki?
Like yeah,
well?
like the Valiants were so easy to give up on Izayaki. The Gladiators, everyone's like, oh, Void's maybe not that good. They give him away. Like the Seoul Dynasty sends Fleta like in division, right? It's tremendous how they've been able to build this team. It also just shows how much talent is around the league that, you know, may not be in the best position, but still incredible players. As Gesture here dies so fast.
Yeah, he got halted, man. There was not much
is
he
a
could
sick
do.
shot.
Godoshin never really stood a chance there. Prophet, we followed him at the start of that fight, and then we saw him sort of meandering through that middle room as Gesture lit up the kill feed, or actually got killed. So it doesn't look like Seoul were remotely ready. They're trying to play Sombra Echo with Wrecking Ball here now.
Yeah, they're trying to play a dive. Yeah, the Wrecking Ball was just for a little bit. It's trying to play a little bit of a dive, and with the Zarya, we saw one game in NA, I believe they tried this.
I love this adaptation.
The Winston with the Zarya, and it was not good.
Oh, wasn't it Chengdu that tried to play it?
Oh, you know, it was Chengdu. Yes, we did
ridiculous.
see Chengdu trying to play it.
Now,
yesterday.
when everyone tells you Chengdu tried to play it, that really has no bearing on whether it's a legitimate strategy. It's just something that suits them. I wonder, maybe Seoul are feeling like they can't actually match the Dragons with their own game. Give switches, goes over towards the Ash here, so it gives a little bit more, you know, self-peel, of course, with the Coach Gun. Boyd wants to push forward and he slept.
Yeah, more self-peel, but also just more consistent damage, not relying on just headshot, one-shot kills at range, being able to just kind of burst down some of these targets with 3-4 shots. As that fight ends in favor of Shanghai, they'll get up to about 50% on the point now before the next fight. And they're starting to stack some of these ultimates, which is one thing that when you watch the Shanghai Dragons, extremely, they're so decisive and well disciplined in the fact that they never end up burning an ultimate that it seems like that they didn't really need. They're always on the ball with it.
Well, Void's now being prevented from using an ultimate, but Fleta isn't. He finds 3. And the setup from Fearless was perfect. There was a supercharger there again. I think it's been coined the Super Blade, although it doesn't really hit quite right.
Just the halt there and being able to see a few players, bring them all in. Very good timing there with the Blade. Is now you're, this is all in for Seoul Dynasty, right? You're going to have potentially 6 ultimates here. The next fight may start with like 85%, so you're gonna need to win it here.
If Seoul don't win this fight, I reckon they get 3-0'd. I don't know why. I just like they have to win this one here. They get Fleta early without having to use any ultimates, so easy start. A bit of flux there. Genji appeared, was caught in that one, but Prophet doesn't really seem too fluffed by that one. He's fine. And hack on the Fearless should end the fight. The Dynasty didn't actually have to use too many of those ultimates, so despite being in a really high pressure situation, they rationed them out and just used Rally and EMP, which is says a lot about their pedigree as players.
Them not using some of these ultimates probably buys them another fight or 2, potentially, right? Nano Blade, Graviton Surge coming up, so you think you're able to get at least one more fight.
Chengdu in that position last night had to use Graviton Surge and EMP in order to win the fight. And nothing for the next one. Prophet gets bubbled as he goes in with the Blade there. And oh my! An accretion connection there just as the bubble expired. Still doesn't keep his Yaki and Fleta safe. Prophet's able to fight through pretty comfortably now and gets yet another bubble. And Marvel's doing a lot of work here. We know he's Zarya from way back when. And that fight, you saw just how much protection Prophet was benefiting from.
Yeah, but you got them, if you're Shanghai Dragons, you've got Seoul Dynasty to end up using Nano Blade plus Primal Rage. Seoul can win this next fight coming up and be big for them, man. You get the Graviton Surge plus Rally here. You're going to have Shanghai answer, though. They're going to have Supercharger, they're going to have Amp Matrix, and then we'll see what Bob decides to do. You can put Bob to the point to try and draw them back if you want it, try and contest. A lot of interesting things that Shanghai can do now with the
I think the rally... I was going to say the rally might be the important ultimate, but it may not matter now with Prophet out of the mix. The Dragons stay perched on the high ground for the time being now. The Supercharger down. They will engage. Just so low, and he knew he was screwed. He was not in a good position at all. Halted there, just out in the open, and Fitz is going to have to move in a stall now. Fletter, not sure what he's looking for, but Ocean maybe reflects the biotic grenade, and Chino gets hit with it himself. Didn't quite get the reflect back. Don't matter though, the Dragons get to move on into that first pick, Matt, getting rid of Fletter at the start of the fight. It was pretty much curtains for the Dynasty from there.
Yes, once they're able to deal with Prophet, I believe it was Lee Jae-gong out of the Brigitte able to take him out. They did kind of exactly what I was talking about. They sent the Brigitte to the point, and then when Fearless dropped down, Gesture was in a position where he knows he needs to go contest, but he can't kind of let the Orisa just take space in the middle in front of the point. And at that moment, Fearless drops a Supercharger, and then most of Seoul Dynasty is just in an awful position. Like, you either give up the point when they're at 98, or you try and fight the players that have high ground plus a shield advantage with a Supercharger. There was really just a no-win scenario there for Seoul Dynasty.
Something tells me Seoul tried to come up with an answer. Suboptimal composition. They tried to go for some sort of dive here, but I mean, the Dragons had so much. They switched to the Ash. They have the Brig there, of course. The Accretion still available to the Sigma. And the Dragons look very comfortable here, much like Guangzhou did, I feel, against the Hunters. So more of this coming up soon. We're going to break, and then map number 2, and we'll see if the Dynasty can actually start to claw some points back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy, Big Crunch, Big Flavor. And by Zip Chair Game, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Kind of show their hand really early, where it looks like they reveal something about the team. It felt like Seoul Dynasty didn't want to try and mirror Shanghai's composition anymore, and instead went to this it looked suboptimal, right? It was Sombra Echo with like Zarya and Winston to start with, and I mean I think there's an Ana there as well, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, I mean you're playing a lot around like the hacks and EMP, and then having whether it be the Winston receive the bubble on the way in and dive onto like the Orisa Sigma, but I just think it's a less optimal comp than playing something like the Ashe with the Tracer, or even Genji with Ashe, or Widowmaker, whatever you want to do. I think it was just not ideal for Seoul Dynasty, especially because Prophet is a really good Genji, and we haven't seen him have great performances on the Echo.
He did switch back to the Genji after a little bit, and the Dynasty did, if you remember, win that sort of first fight. They managed to get an EMP rally off, and it looked like they'd be able to ration some of those ultimates really effectively, but it wasn't to be. Now we're going to be heading into King's Row for map number 2. It was, of course, a Seoul Dynasty selection. They're going to start on defense. And again, like the same question sort of applies here. We've seen Genji. We've seen Genji on the attacking side at the very least. And yes, not a surprise to see Mei for defense. So we're going to see some differences in composition on this map, especially. They tend to even out towards the end of the map. You don't really see the Mei played all the way through, but I mean, you can't deny just how effective she is with how many chokes we're dealing with.
Yes, Mei is very effective on defense, even on offense at times on this map, right? I know, being able to put a wall and kind of get on by real quick. We'll see what Shanghai decides to do on their offense. They can decide to play, I mean, you could play like Winston. I don't think you will. You'll probably play Orisa. I think the biggest thing is whether you want to play the Widowmaker or Ashe. We saw really good things from Guangzhou playing the Widowmaker in this situation.
The Dragons, obviously it's Spectra TP to start them off. We've seen teams even play Farah in Spawn just to get some early rockets and try and poke out. But DM will be on the Widowmaker. Why not? It looked very, very good. He only switched to Ashe in that previous map when he thought he was going to get dove by Winston.
And I like this composition versus what Seoul Dynasty's doing. You can outrange the Ashe in a lot of situations, make it very difficult for her to peek. That gives you control over the kind of cross and the point. You can gain a lot of map presence and control with the Widowmaker here alone.
Oh, okay, starting to feel the effect of that Mei here. I mean, great placement of that Immortality field. Nicely done by Izzyaki, making it possible for the Dragons to lose any players. And the Dynasty are playing a pretty common 3-3 split setup, but Flood is able to chase down Gesture. Again, this is the risk. You know, we saw this happen last night as well. Teams split up across this King's Row defense mat. It could get picked apart.
It's the same exact thing we saw Guangzhou do last night, as Chengdu came out with a very similar comp. They played Ashe instead of Widow. The other team played Widow. They get a cross on the point, and the Ashe can't peek at that moment. There's nothing to dive because you're not playing Genji, you're playing Faye, and you're in a really bad situation. So Shanghai takes that first point. They'll unlock the payload. A lot of time to get it moving.
And Prophet, the Mei value didn't really come out on that first point. I mean, ideally you want to try and get a Blizzard before you lose point A, but it was nicely done by Izzyaki with a great Immortality field to keep the Dragons alive on the right side. DM's going to push up a little bit here. If he gets a flanking position, if he gets a kill on the Ashe, we can just back away. Okay, Fitz knows he is close. Careful, Fitz being healed from long range here, and DM smartly chooses to try and line Fidosin up there, but he's too far away. Marvel increasing into the backline, didn't quite connect. He's lost Gesture now, so Marvel has to do the lion's share, and the tanking right now, but Void got rid of Slime. That healing is gone, and again, you know, these compositions really work like a House of Cards match, especially if you lose that Orisa so early in the fights.
And it doesn't look like DM does much, but he just draws Fitz, and it looks like Bedoshin's attention away from the rest of the team for a very long time. And at that moment, Shanghai is they're using their rally, they're using their Amp Matrix. There's not any help there for the front line, or the help comes a little bit slower than expected, and they end up all falling.
Yeah, I mean, there was an Immortality field thrown down, but it expired. So Void goes in is for the Flux there, just the right time. And that's because all the pressure being put on Bedosin from the flank of DM. It just generates threat by existing, which is a huge boon for your team if you really want to draw people out of position. That Fearless Supercharger is down, so there won't be any extra damage for him there. And the Dynasty are able to repel Shanghai finally.
But they needed to use everything they had to do it. I mean, both teams kind of invested a ton into that fight, but Seoul Dynasty ends up using what? Blizzard, Bob, Amp Matrix, Rally. It's a fight they absolutely need to win as well, to be honest. You cannot have allowed Shanghai to take that point and have, like, you know, 5 minutes almost to get from B to C. Would have been devastating. So now you have an advantage for Seoul Dynasty, though. You have a Supercharger coming in the next fight. Shanghai Dragons working with nothing.
let's see what they can manufacture here. Again, when you come into these fights with that ultimates, Widowmaker can be a huge difference maker. Get that first pick, and all of a sudden, it doesn't really matter if you're behind an ultimates. Team fight win percentage is definitely more in your favor if you have player advantage as opposed to old advantage.
But look at the sight lines, though. There's nowhere for DM to try and get a pick.
They're trying to give him something. The Dragons push around that far side, and Void is super out of position and frozen solid here. And yeah, not nearly enough damage. So I guess the Dragons go for a bit of a dry fight, but don't actually generate a ton of ultimate percentage doing so. Fleta especially.
Like you mentioned, when they wrap around there, you saw where DM was set up. They were trying to give him angles to potentially get a pick or two, or enough damage to make him impactful. It's just they did a nice job just running down Void, taking him out before they could even let DM get set up.
This smacks of a concession here. Fleta switches now over to the main map.
Oh yeah, this is quite interesting. Well, this means you want to brawl a little bit harder here on the point. You don't want to play kind of like that dive control style, but you still want to set up the Widowmaker here. It just gives you a little bit more survivability.
Some respect here, at least for the impact of main. Fleta now. Okay. No DM playing away from the rest of the Dragons here. I mean, Shanghai want to try and obscure DM's position as long as possible. Fleta, though, not so lucky. He's forced to ice block pretty early on, and Jagon was suspended in midair as easy target shooting for Fitz, who now spotted out DM, forces him away with the coach gun, which kind of was a non-bow with Slide trying to close the gap, but still the Dragons are repelled once more. Wall thrown up, and that's really just to give the Dragons a way to get out safely. Not all of them will make it out.
Yeah, as it looks like Fleta gonna get an ice block there. It'll be the blizzard that comes through here from Profit. So Seoul Dynasty now is starting to get rolling. I wonder if DM will switch off of Widowmaker here and go Ashe and just try and match this. It's probably what this switch is going to be, if I had to guess.
Got it.
Yep. So they'll match comp mirror for mirror here. And they'll have a slight advantage, Shanghai, coming into this fight. They'll have their rally. They're also going to get closer to a supercharger here at the beginning. And then they're way ahead in terms of Blizzard because we just saw it used. Seoul Dynasty, though, has done a tremendous job of dwindling down this clock, though.
I mean, Shanghai maybe, you know, rushed into that first fight outside the Foundry when things were going well for them here in the Dynasty. Again, you know, they look pretty average for the first half of the map, but then they really show us again why they're a top team, and they slow the pace down now, making use of the ultimate advantage, the terrain, denying those angles away from the DM. And look at that dynamite damage. Fearless, probably glad there's a wall there, or there's an amplification to make things thrown up that necessitated that from Seoul. Bob is in and out as quickly as he came. The Prophet is down to DM. Here's a supercharge on push map. Now the Dragons want to double down.
Yeah, so you see Void with some nice damage on the high ground. DM picks up 2, DM a 3rd. And now Shanghai can get the cart going. Most likely be able to take point B here.
With what ults, man? And Matrix, a supercharger? They've got a Blizzard on the horizon and a bomb of their own from DM fairly soon. Not to mention Void is also packing some heat.
They do have ultimates for the next fight, a slight advantage. But I do have to say, though, Seoul Dynasty kind of put themselves right back in the game by getting that home. Like, it was like 5 minutes plus with them being able to go from, you know, capturing point A to point B, and they dwindled it all down to less than a minute.
Void playing where he is right now looks really risky, right? But it prevents the Dynasty from pushing out of this corridor up towards the cart, because then they're giving the Sigma an off angle. Fleta now has joined Void, and I don't know if the Dynasty know this. No one's pushing up though. Fleta's here just to punish any sort of aggression from the defenders. And Solar, I mean, based on outmaneuvering from the Dragons, are allowing this payload to push up a decent way.
Yeah, Shanghai, they wait for that Amp Matrix to go away. Now they'll use their Gravitic Flux as they try and push in.
Yeah, and Killing grasp from Marvel there to make sure he doesn't take too much damage while he's airborne. But Prophet has gone down. There's a Blizzard coming in from Fleta. Everyone caught inside that one, Gesture included. And that is bad news indeed for the Seoul Dynasty. The Dragons come up with the goods at the end. Took them a while to get slowed down, but they know what they had to do. We've seen so many teams flounder in that position or try and stick with a Widow composition, but it's May and it's Ashe, and winning the fight outside the Foundry without having to use Blizzard, I feel, is huge for them.
Yeah, it's pretty massive, as it looks like we do have a pause. Looks like we'll stand by for just a little bit. We'll figure out what that is. But what I saw there at the end, and what allowed Shanghai to be able to take that is like you're playing a predictive game if you're Seoul Dynasty, and you're trying to guess that they're going to come in and then drop your Amp Matrix at the right time. They drop the Amp Matrix, and then Shanghai just backs around the corner. They get absolutely zero value, Seoul Dynasty, with the Amp Matrix, and even worse, that allows the Shanghai Dragons to push up. They know a lot of players who are playing behind the M Matrix to try and get damage through it. That allows them to use the Gravitic Flux, a nice halt in that area, and be able to get a big one.
It definitely feels like the Dynasty didn't really know what to do about Void pushing up on Sigma there in that last part of the round. We got to, to go on board with Void and see what he was doing. It was literally just one Sigma pushing that left side corridor on his own. You saw he almost died there. He had to throw a shield up and then kinetic grasp. The shield timing was excellent because it actually stopped an accretion. And then the Dynasty just backed right up into the corner just outside their spawn. That gives so much free cart progress. Like I said, Matt, they can't engage on the rest of the Dragons because they just expose their backs to Void, who just hits them with accretion.
And you can see like how Shanghai, they play both of their supports really centered around Void and keeping him up and just like putting down damage, taking space. And they're able to keep Fearless alive at range, but Fearless does a nice job of putting himself in constantly good positions where he's not going to take a ton of front-loaded damage all at once. Because they know that if they can get Void in these positions, in these off angles, they can start to just cause chaos for the other team.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's also a part of, why Seoul struggled so much in map number 1. They switch away from, the Orisa Sigma composition. They try and go for some dive, but the consistency the Void is providing and also the amount of resources that are being dedicated to keeping him alive, because you can literally control half
Sigma,
of the map with Sigma as you push up.
But we talk about so many heroes, right? I know everybody complains about Mei, they complain about Genji now, Brigitte in the past. It's like a Sigma still, he does so much, like just tons of poke damage through chokes. Gravitic Flux is a massive AoE ult that does percent health damage. We don't have anything like that in Overwatch besides it. He can eat ultimates and damage and turn it into health, big stun. There's so much that he provides. I didn't even mention the shielding, but he just provides so much that like you need to keep your Sigma and empower your Sigma to do what Shanghai does with Void and let him make that type of impact on the game.
I feel like the Shanghai Dragons and the Guangzhou Charge are in really similar places right now, right? They have a really deadly Widowmaker Genji setup, right? I mean, think about it. We've got Happy versus DM potentially, right? The Genjis on both sides, potentially high impact plays, but it's the Sigmas. It's how Sigma-centric both of these teams are and how much value they get out of it, especially the accretion. So I do hope that both of those make it through. I don't want to sort of spoil my expectations for the next match. But right now, it appears on site we're dealing with some connection issues. You might have noticed it as we were commentating. There was a little bit of lag on the feed. We were experiencing that too. We were just fluffing our way through it. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, hopefully we're ready to see the conclusion of this Kings Row map, which so far has shown that the Dynasty may have what it takes to stay in this. Stick around. More Overwatch coming at you after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Overwatch League. Thanks for sticking with us there. A short break as we start to iron out some of our connectivity issues, I believe.
We were tired. We need another coffee.
Yeah,
that was it.
Bring me another coffee. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I went and I'm definitely going to have to caffeinate to stay up. But that's right. It's worth it for Overwatch like this. Brings me back to the old days, the good old days. Now, yeah, as far as we know, it's connection issues on site, so not so much with us. We're on that fiber ting. Don't you worry about it, fam. We're Gucci. But so far, we've seen the Shanghai Dragons attack. Matt, they finish King's Row with about 33 seconds left in their time bank. Could have been a lot more if Seoul didn't put the brakes on and really started getting value out of, profit, obviously, on the May, just outside of that last stage of the map.
Yeah, Seoul really stepped up from when the payload was unlocked to checkpoint 2. That's where they kind of, you don't want to say like win, right? But that's where they kind of win the round in terms of like reducing the amount of crazy time bank that would have been had by the Shanghai Dragons.
Right?
Yeah, I mean they did that right there. They end up losing, the third checkpoint rather quickly, but still they didn't have many ultimates to work with at that point. So once we get back in, I think it'll be interesting. What do Seoul Dynasty run on offense? I think they probably run something with Genji, whether it be Ashe or Widow. I'm almost more interested now to see what Shanghai does. Every time we've casted this, we've seen teams go towards the Ashe on defense.
I mean, they tried to run this Genji Widow on Ilios, and it did not look good at all. So can they afford to try that here, maybe under the expectation that, oh, Shanghai maybe aren't playing
this setup? So this is what I like from Shanghai already. They've gone towards Widowmaker here instead of having Ashe. Like,
do you like this though? Because it seems less safe.
I do, because it's way harder. Like, if Seoul Dynasty comes out with a Widow and you're playing the Ashe, you're already at a major disadvantage. Like, if you're playing the Widow, at least you get a Widow head-to-head. If they're playing an Ashe, you can still outrange. The only thing that's very difficult for the Shanghai Dragons here is, like, maybe you don't have the consistent damage as, like, having an Ashe setup would give you. We'll see what Fitz decides to do now, but I would say also this almost forces Fitz to play Widow, which if you were not scared about it on the first map, you're not scared about it now.
So May on the offense here from Seoul. From the outset, Shanghai only played May on offense when they sort of had to. Flutter trying to play Genji for as long as possible. Here's the issue for Widow. A lot of shields to try and fire through. You're kind of on halts and the setup from accretion to find clean kills, or a flanking angle, of which there aren't all that many good ones for defenders on this map. You have to really push into risky territory. That's a great halt just for delay. Yeah. I'd be mad about that if I was Gesture. All right, so he might actually push to the point with Dosen now, and it's going to be a two-pronged attack from the Dynasty now, and have you know, the Orisa of Gesture move up and contest, and have the rest of the Dynasty go high ground. Will this work?
And what you see there is Fearless at the turn real quick as soon as that haul comes through, because he's so scared of like a Widowmaker headshot coming on through. Is Prophet, Maywall in the choke trying to split off the supports, and they do a nice job of doing it.
Okay, the trade. The Marvel has gone down, so an extra shield is standing for the Shanghai Dragons, and they get an immortality field down. And look at that. DM spends the first bit of this round quiet, but when it's time to strike, he strikes true. 2 kills for him. And even if Fearless goes down here, they can push up now past the Sigma shield, the Orisa shield, sorry, and find the kills. EJ Gon obviously doesn't really care about shields, never did.
Just look how much more damage though that DM's able to do here, right? Than Fitz. I mean, he's already got Infrasight. You see Prophet did a nice job as opposed to Fled in that first fight, but the Widowmaker difference is big here for the Shanghai Dragons. It's something we saw on map number 1 as well. On the Ilios, where DM on the Widowmaker, it's kind of his signature hero. You expect him to make a huge impact. You're going to need to see Fitz step up and at least win these 1v1s to give Seoul Dynasty a chance.
DM obviously not really worried about holding in for sight because, or using it, should I say, because it's pretty clear where Seoul are going to be coming from.
Look how far away, though, that he had Fitz playing.
That is the setup. Now that Gravitic Flux behind the statue, DM could not fire on those targets, but Marvel already went down, so now Seoul are in utter disarray. They're split in half, and they're going to get staggered. This Batiste here is going to get staggered.
Yep. It's Benosian in a really rough spot. He will get taken out. You still have the walls now from DM. You're building up more ultimates here for the Shanghai Dragons. I would love to sit on with Fitz and see what kind of angles he's taking, because all we saw from him when he was up in the hotel, like, never made it through the choke. And I don't believe you can play the Widow that passive on offense. Like, the best part about the Widow on offense is gain control of that cross.
You can see just how important not getting picked by the enemy Widow is to DM. He's still holding Infrasight until Fitz just used it, making sure there was no way that Fitz can get the drop on him. Boyd gets dropped though, and hard. Marvel's able to find him early on, and the Dragons are missing their Sigma to start with, and Jagon may have been caught out of position here. There's a Blizzard, and he already shield bashed forward. He couldn't get away. Prophet's able to catch them inside the small room, and now the rest of Seoul can step on up. DM has even less sightlines than he did before to play with, and that might be it for Dragons on this point A defense.
Yeah, they have to back up. They do have Seoul Dynasty though at like 30 seconds here when they'll take it, so not a huge amount of time to go from A to B like Shanghai at about 5 minutes. Seoul Dynasty will have 3 minutes to do it. They're going to sit up here to fight again, Mitch, because they have this Blizzard they can use in the choke. Seoul had to use everything to take the point.
And this is great. This is an opportunity that the Dynasty did not have when the Dragons captured point A. Seoul can make a lot of use of the May here. Try and catch some of these defenders before they can get back to the rest of their team. But Flutter's just going to hold the choke here. He's going to sit, look at the high ground there. You can see the Fitz on a flank. See if that works out. Here's the Blizzard. That can throw down it. The Amplification Matrix also got used, but everybody from the Dynasty was forced to back away with that Blizzard in play. And, well, Fitz and DM know each other's there.
That's pretty funny. Fitz turns the corner, sees DM looking out through the window, a little bit of a wave.
There's nothing to be done for Fitz there. Like, he's on the flank, and he's going to have to stay on the flank and stay alive. Fortunately, no one of the Dragons really has the mobility to catch him unless they're coming out of spawn. So Fitz will be allowed to be embedded deep behind enemy lines. The big Flux comes out, catches 3 before the wall could come up, and the Dragons just burrow their way through it. They know there's a big opportunity to find a couple kills here. Void's trying to get rid of that immortality field, but it stays around for a very long time. Still, the Dragons have one of their own, and they stay alive on their weather.
And I was just about to say, where is Fitz? He dies there towards the end to DM, but going on that long flank didn't really make a huge impact. But what I liked about that is, you know, the Gravitic Flux comes in, right? And the main wall is actually good from Prophet. The choke can try and save people. And Fleta uses the cart and just goes right over the top of it. Gets in, starts to get the multi-freezed out, allows his team some time to come up, finish off a few kills. Shanghai backing up here because they know Gravitic Flux and Blizzard are in the mix.
Now, DM couldn't get away, but he wasn't exactly in line of sight of Marvel during that Gravitic Flux. So all that did was force the Dragons back, and they just hit rally and then press W. Jagon's trying to push forward now, and there's going to be a Blizzard thrown out. This might trap the Dragons, might punish them for getting over-aggressive. Even Fitz has been taken down. It's at least that. Everybody on the Dragons, though, was on the wrong side of that wall, caught in the Blizzard. And that's punishment.
Yeah, and they're still fighting this Shanghai. They're just going to draw this out. They may get another attempt here. Going in with Fleta now just going onto the cart, trying to just throw his life away. Maybe you get a touch here and an opportunity for Shanghai. If you can get back to the cart, you do have the Blizzard, but look at Seoul Dynasty. They know they don't want to allow them to come and fight this towards the end.
You got 2 shields to get through. It's going to be a tall order. They can get there. DM now's gone to the high ground, or attempted to go up on the right for, look like a hook shot.
Yeah, you back up here. If you're Shanghai, there's no reason to fight this. As soon as the M Matrix goes down, you just give it up.
Okay, remember, the Dynasty don't get much more time. It's only a minute added to the clock here. So the Dragons still in a position where they can prevent Seoul from finishing the map. And let's see if that discipline of not trying to contest actually comes out to help them. They've saved the ultimates as well, so they still have Blizzard to hold. They will give the Dynasty more time to play, more time to build it themselves. But Seoul don't really have too much on the horizon outside of the Gravitic Flux.
If you wanted to, if you're Shanghai, you could use like just the Supercharger probably with this next fight. You may not even need it now after you take out the Widowmaker. If you can hold on to all your ultimates now, you see Seoul Dynasty starting to back up. This would be huge for the Shanghai Dragons.
DM has a great angle now. He can play much more aggressively for the next couple of seconds until Fitz gets back in position. The Dragons were hoping for a little bit more from them, but they get a lot of damage. You know, they charge up a couple of these ultimates, and with the rally not far away from Jagon.
It's bad for Seoul Dynasty to lose that fight without the other team having to use any ultimates whatsoever. Marvel with a Gravitic Flux. Looks like he got one. Yeah, just didn't really do much.
He tried to go over the top, but the rest of the Dynasty were forced back. Now, we're down to 30 seconds for the Seoul Dynasty here, and they're walking into a veritable trove of ultimates on the side of the Dragons. DM pops Infrasight, this time first, because he knows Fitz probably doesn't have it. And with one more fight to go, the Dynasty are not going to be able to obscure their battle plan at all. Fleta's going to be waiting. If the Dynasty want to barrel through this small room, he will be there with the Blizzard. Look at this. Prophet already had to use the Ice Block, man.
Oh, and they're going to get right aggressive onto him. They're going to Blizzard go in. Ice Block here is Prophet never even able to get his own Blizzard off. Shanghai looking to put this map away.
Oh, again, get an early Ice Block, and that's all you need. The Shanghai Dragons managed to hold out and weather the storm on King's Row to make it 2-0 heading into the half. And it's almost as we kind of expected. We knew that Seoul, you know, had a bit of moxie coming into this series, but the Dragons looked so comfortable from the get-go, and they look better with the Widow. DM is 12 final blows for the map in general. And of course, when, you know, one of your DPS players, Matt, is busy playing May, the other has to step up and actually get a volume of final blows. That's something that Fitz wasn't able to do. DM did.
Right, and I think what Shanghai realizes is they can just mirror, and if you're going to have the Widow versus Widow battle, you trust DM to win it against Fitz. Fitz hasn't shown you that yet in this series. We have seen in the past good Widowmaker play from him, but we haven't seen in this series that he can go toe-to-toe with DM. So if you're Shanghai, you keep you hope that there's another map in the pool that Seoul picked that's really focused around the Widow.
I mean, Seoul go and choose the perennial favorite for many teams, of course, King's Row. It's not exactly like it's easy to come up with special strats on that map. So, I mean, if you're a fan of the Seoul Dynasty, you'll be hoping that their next map pick is something a little bit more conducive to them being able to use some strategy they prepared. But we'll have time to discuss that, because this is my favorite part of the show, where I essentially throw to myself. On the other side of this break, we'll be back with some halftime thoughts from myself and Matt Morello. We'll get some crunch time analysis from Matt. And when we are back, we will be into map number 3. Stick around, more Overwatch coming at you here. Summer Showdown Finals. It all wraps up tonight. Don't go too far.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
That's right, everybody. It's time for your game break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. Now, we're at the halfway mark of this series. It's an elimination match, a best of 5 between the Seoul Dynasty and the Shanghai Dragons. And the Dragons look prepared. They look ready in this meta map. They look locked in, and they look really comfortable on the dominant team composition of the moment.
And you would have said Seoul Dynasty, like this could be a meta where they would have looked really good as well. The issue is like, we talk so much about Genji, the double shield, etc. But like when there's Widowmaker in the mix and one Widow's hitting and the other one's not, there's not a lot of counters to that. Like you know, you have to play
like John Madden, something he would say. But
yeah, but like you have to play like different angles and positions to dodge the Widow. That allows the opposing team to take space. It puts you in really split odd positions, and it makes the game so much harder.
Yeah, when you're on King's Row and you're attacking, you're playing Widowmaker, right? You have to figure it out. You have to figure out a way to find a pick. Again, you will be against the odds because you will be going after a Widow or someone in a backline who probably has the attention of their support. You are alone. You are almost always going into like a 1vx scenario, and rarely do you get like an even fight, a fair duel. So the fact that we saw, DM able to go into those situations and find picks by being patient and waiting for his opportunity to strike. I mean, it showed up on the scoreboard. It showed up in the team fights. And again, even if there were some fights where they were using May and Brig Rally, so you don't have to find the first pick. That's fine. But, keep hitting shots throughout the fight and finding kills.
And you have to take the right angles. Like a few times when we saw from Seoul Dynasty's offense on King's Row, especially on point A, you're taking angles from like the top hotel. You're not really getting a good view. Like you want to get that view across the point, right? That puts a lot of pressure on Shanghai Dragons, forces them to line of sight you, forces DM to come out and try and challenge from one of the positions. And if you get that kill, it's a point win for Seoul Dynasty. But It just felt like they were very passive in the approach that they took.
And our map for our crunch time presented by Cheez It Grooves. We've got this third map in our sights. Volskaya Industries is what the Dynasty have chosen to play. And my question to you is, can the Dynasty now on defense maybe try and play, or offense as well, try and play this Winston Sombra setup? Some teams have made it work of Volskaya defense. This dive defense with Sombra getting, plenty of EMPs. Can they match the Dragons with the Widow, or is this map the kind that can prevent the Dragons from doing what they do best right now?
Well, I think point B will allow them to play more Ashe instead of the Widow. So it limits the amount. Like if you would have picked a map like Anubis, right? Like really Widowmaker centric on that first point.
Yep.
It can be like that on first point Volskaya, but not as much as like Temple of Anubis, where if you're losing that battle, you're pretty much screwed for the whole time. Now it gives them an opportunity to maybe play some type of like dive type of setup, like you mentioned. It gives them the opportunity in a point for point B that doesn't have these major long sightlines, where Widow can take advantage, play an Ashe Genji type of setup and win in that way, or play Sombra. It gives them some other options that I feel like if you would have went to Anubis, you're committing to like Ashe, Genji, and Widowmaker play, which you haven't seen result in success thus far.
So if you're pinning your hopes as a Seoul fan on any one player from the Dynasty, who do you want to see step up on Volskaya?
I mean, it would be great to see like Prophet go crazy, but I think in this type of game, you're going to need to see Fitz step up. We know he's capable. We just need to see it.
All right, Fitz, all eyes are on you. And in a moment, they'll be glued to the Volskaya Industries in map number 3. We're going to go to a break, ladies and gentlemen. And when we return, we'll have more of this series now. And the last chance for the Dynasty to see if they can hang, if they deserve a spot in that Summer Showdown final, or if they'll fall to their eternal nemesis. We'll see you guys on the other side of this break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
It all hangs in the balance right now for the Seoul Dynasty and their hopes of taking the crown here in the Summer Showdown for the Asia region. Fortunately for them, their destiny's in their own hands. I'm here with Matthew Morello. I'm Mitch Leslie, of course. And this is map 3 now coming up. And it appears the Seoul Dynasty have made a
Yes.
couple of substitutions.
Right. That's probably why you see the look on my face, because I'm just kind of trying to think of what's going on here.
So I can't see your face.
Oh, well, I mean, everybody at home can, and
That's
they
true.
probably saw me looking very confused and wondered why. So Michelle will come in for Marvel. And you will also have Toby come in for Slime. This would tell me you want to play some Diva. That's the only thing you can think of bringing Michelle in for, because, like, but even then they've been committed to even having Marvel play Diva in certain situations, right? And then now Toby coming in. Do you want to play like Lucio? Do you want to play like Mercy? But I don't know. This is really odd for Seoul Dynasty.
It could be that you want to play both Diva and Lucio, and you do want to dive. You want to play this Winston setup.
Yeah.
We have seen it inside, the last couple of weeks on Voskaya Industries on both offense and defense. It is extremely hard to get value out of it against Accretion, against Brigitte Stuns, against Immortality Field, against the whole host of anti-dive mechanics that teams are making extensive use of currently. So bear that in mind as we see the Seoul Dynasty set up on the offense. Maybe Michelle just plays Sigma. Like, maybe this was also like a substitution that was planned well in advance, regardless of like the result of the series. Like, these players were told you'll play maps 3 onwards if necessary. So that also has happened. It also does happen. Sometimes teams deal with their benches differently. Sometimes these players are designated for certain maps and they only scrim those certain maps. So weigh that as well as a possibility.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it is odd, though, after a halftime to bring in... Marvel's been pretty good throughout the season for Seoul Dynasty. Slime's a big pickup. I understand bringing Toby in, right? Because we've seen more Toby for this team than Slime.
Yep.
But Michelle has gotten a very limited play time for Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, it does. It just seems really odd that you bring players cold off the bench in like a decided map. But
and Shanghai just challenges them again. Sorry to cut you off, but they just bring out the Widowmaker again. They're challenging them to play.
Oh my!
But it's almost like a challenge at this point. Like, hey, we don't want you to play Ashe. Play the Widow.
Yep. Figure out how to beat that composition or lose the game. Simple as that. And what does Fitz do? Does he go, well, listen, Mr. DM, I don't feel so good. I want to keep playing Ashe here, and if that's the case, that's fine. But look at this. This is an Arbalest and Pervis setup here by DM and Jagon. Filthy, dishonest, disgusting.
But, like, the Ashe can't challenge this straight up. And then if they get, like, a halt and a headshot on, like, the Orisa or something, like, it's all over. So, yep, shots in. He just put a shot into Bedosian there, and then his teammates help finish it off.
Yeah, you drop an Immortality Field, but now you kind of wish you didn't. You're stuck with 5 players, a long way from home, and Fitz has essentially been forced to stay out here. I don't know if he crosses to the right-hand side without being shot by DM, who just have him lined up. Accretion did hit Fearless, so the Dragons give a little bit of ground here. This means that Soul can filter through. It also means the DM has to play back a little bit more on that far side, top right corner of the stream.
See, it's an Amp Matrix that comes out here for the Shanghai Dragons. Force them to the other side of the point.
So easy to line of sight.
Yeah.
That ability. Interesting place. It doesn't matter. Fletter, that's really nice. He knew exactly how much damage he had to do, and frankly, Bedosa was too slow to pop his self-heal to respond. Fitz is able to find the head of Fletter, though, and now it's a 5v5. Fitz extremely low, and don't forget, Bedosa isn't there. It's just Brigitte for healing, but Toby's making it work somehow, and the Dynasty make their way forward, now control a high ground, and they should just be able to round up the rest of the Dragons.
Yes, it looks like it's just DM, Void, and DJ gone.
Why are they not
back in action? Looks like they backed up, though. It looks like they're going to concede this point. As well, no, never mind. As Void and Legion Gun now go and try and fight this.
I don't know what they're looking for here. This is a staggered situation. Fletter gets Fitz. Doesn't really matter, though.
They'll get the fast spawn, though. They'll be spawned up pretty quickly.
There was a time where that would have been a death sentence, what they just did, but now, of course, you'll be back in the fight a little bit quicker on defense.
Here's where you like the Ashe better than the Widow. When we go over to point B here, you think this is where Fitz can really be effective, because it's the effective range of Ashe. Like, they don't get outranged by the Widowmaker here, so you should be able to do some really nice things.
That, and the fact that Bob is really hard to line of sight on the point, especially if you're defenders and you want to contest, you have to deal with it.
This angle, though.
I mean, you are. This is incredibly ballsy. Yeah. This is high risk. You're rolling the dice right now. You need to find something, and he finds nothing except a bullet right between the eyes. Vince finds him. Proper now back towards the point with Bob set up there. That, you know, again, it's hard to pick out into because the Dragons Slayer has to go with the deflect first, and it doesn't work out. Toby hits him. And there it is. The Dynasty now have to move up here. They look much cleaner on this map, but the Dragons are playing. I'm not impressed at all with the entangle there. It looks good if it works out, but it's so risky. And the Dynasty already have a little lead.
Little flashy, little risky here as Void use the Gravitic Flux here, get up real high as they'll knock down Toby, but not enough to get a pick off on.
Got to close this. Oh, the Dynasty. Okay, that was an odd little situation there. I mean, that looked like it was actually going in favor of the Dragons. They were starting to get those respawns in crucially. That's a C9. I'm just gonna put it out there. You have a Sigma playing above the point, could have dropped down, but also an Orisa just around the corner. They had the numbers there. Dynasty, they get off a little easy in that round because they were starting to run out of steam, but they come up with the goods and they punish the Dragons for some really interesting positioning.
So now I'm interested what happens with Seoul Dynasty on defense. I'll take a look. This is the Blade. It's a nice use of the Exo boots here by Izayaki. As soon as Prophet starts to come through, he slides on down. Really nice.
I mean, forces Prophet away. Very low health he is. What a great fight. Both Genjis is getting a pretty rough time. This is a good time to be reminded, if you're a Genji fan, that it still won't be easy out there, especially when there's no Ana. You're trying to Blade without Nano Boost here, and you're trying to use Supercharger. Not quite as good. Kind of, yeah.
I wonder if the Seoul Dynasty coaches saw something a little bit different, maybe in the first half, where we're kind of like seeing the Widowmaker battle and Fitz not really kind of stepping up to DM, but maybe they thought there was an overall kind of systematic approach that resulted in some of these subs. It'll be interesting if they win this map, what happens. Do they come back with Marvel and Slime, or do they stay with Michelle and Toby?
Slow start. Don't forget, Seoul looked a little confused at the start of this map for a way to sort of get in and deal with DM at long range. So the Dragons, this is their composition. They're not budging on the row. They need main to end the round, which is fair. Sometimes you have to play no fun Overwatch. Halt there for Void. He's able to back away, throws up a shield there. And the Dynamite goes over the top. So Prophet wasn't... He wanted to deal with DM, but he needs to get healed up before he goes for another crack at it. And he seems uncertain that he even wants to do that at all.
Yes, he's going to dive in. That's the brig. Don't want to go exactly in, but it looks like Seoul Dynasty trying to pinch the players on Shanghai in the choke, but DM with a headshot on the Toby takes out the brig.
And it starts to fall down. Jester's already missing there. Fearless picks him off. DM, he doesn't care if he goes down here. He's not going to, apparently, because Izyaki's just pumping the heels into it. That's sharp. That's lovely. And you saw an interesting little interaction there, and this is something that a lot of Genji players do. You see a Brigitte dash through them, because if they're late on a shield bash, they'll try and turn 180 and bash you as you dash away from them. But it's very unlikely they'll hit you. The range is short, your dash is long. You just need to sort of dash when you're quite close to them there. The only way your Brig catches you if they're able to shield bash you as you're dashing.
Now let's see if Shanghai can take this really good point A take and bring it in with a fast one here on point B. They have an Amp Matrix to work with. And the thing is with the Widowmaker and with DM, like, you know, a headshot on the Toby takes him out. Like, that just spirals it out of control. When you don't have ultimates and either does the other team, you get those one-shot kills. Such a game changer.
And look, Brig is solid. She's really hard to just pick off like that because of the shield. But if you have a side angle on her, she cannot protect herself. It is only towards the front. So I like this from the Dragons. This is a maneuver play here, trying to work their way around the outside and put pressure on Gesture first and foremost. Okay, well, no immortality field available there for Jagon. He's taken down, but Gesture eventually falls. So the crux of the Dragons' plan comes to pass, and Prophet only gets one kill with the Blade now. The big Flux Void's in trouble. Okay, straight into an immortality field. He would have died otherwise. Fearless is going to make the most of that immortality as well to try and set up. He's a little bit concerned though, because he's got a Sigma in front and Genji to his left, and he has to back right on up. He's got no healing.
Yeah, they were trying to keep DM alive as well over on the side. He was just getting chased down by Prophet. They weren't able to do so. So now Shanghai has to back out here. Seoul Dynasty gets a hold on their first defense. So Seoul Dynasty putting themselves in a position where they potentially could end up with more time in the time bank here.
4 minutes, 17 seconds. That is what the Dragons are working with now. And here, DM doesn't have to worry about holding in for a side because Fitz isn't crazy enough to play Widow against them on this map. But Fletcher goes for the blade anyway, and just look, a lot of solid damage there on suggestion. A lot of pressure on the healers as a result. He has to go for a deflate here. Prophet is mad. He wants a bit of fisticuffs, but he's not going to get it now. It's going to be Michelle taken to the skies and being brought back down awfully fast. 3 minutes 50 on the clock, and the Dragons are set up here to lead in time bank now. Mostly on the back of that fast point 8 take, and they will. 2 minutes 25, plays 2 minutes.
Yeah, so the time will drop down a little bit. Both teams had a little bit more time. Subtract a little bit here. So looks like Seoul Dynasty will finish. They'll have 2 minutes now on their attack, where Shanghai only 29 seconds more.
And the Dragons there, you saw what they're trying to do. Put pressure on the Orisa. Once Gesture is down, there's no halt. There's no way to stop the enemy Genji. I mean, if you get hit with a halt as, you know, your Fledder or something like that, you're really not going to have a very good time. And even if a Dragon Blade doesn't get kills, you saw that Fledder goes in, swiping away at it, knows there's an immortality field there, but you know, you can still get your opponents down to, what, 25 HP, even if that immortality field is there. And if you pressure the Batiste enough, you won't be able to fix that healing, that health deficit. Brigitte definitely won't do it. The repair packs are not going to make up for the waste that can be caused by a Dragon Blade. So nice job by the Dragons. And Fledder knows he doesn't need to get 22 kills in a team fight to set his team up to win it.
It'll be Shanghai on D here with the Widowmaker play yet again. Can Seoul Dynasty break this one more time? Like, with 2 minutes on the clock, like, one team fight, one for Shanghai, and it's probably going to be a little bit drawn out because they're playing so passive with trying to get through the choke because they don't want to give up shots to the Widow. If they do that and kind of play that dance, you're looking at maybe only 2 attacks here for Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah,
Two really good ones.
They need a quick fix for this Widow problem, Matt. They can't drag things out now. It was one thing when they had, what, like 5 minutes to work with. Now it's a different kettle of fish. Right, Shanghai, Dealer stops a little bit of damage early here, and there's an off angle. There's some Sigma Hyperspheres bouncing inside that small room, but both teams have been able to keep their players topped up for now. Void pushes up. These Sigma barriers are actually quite important. And yeah, that one went down there. Michelle wasn't able to keep his alive. Gesture was quickly overwhelmed as well. Shield management so hard to carry out in these fights, and now there's been a wedge driven between the Dynasty's two sides, Matt. They're in trouble.
And you see when Void gets that choke, knows the players to his left, and what does he do? He throws a Sigma shield in the doorway and then just turns his attention to the right. Because he knows that if the player to his left is going to do any damage to him, he has to pass through the shield. And then he's got a bunch of teammates following up the backside that are going to damage him and take him out. So a really heads-up play there from Void.
Well, you said it, Matt. 2 good fights. One of them, well, it wasn't good. Not for the Dynasty anyway. This is their last chance. They're going to come in with an Matrix that at least force position for the Dragons. It might let the Dynasty walk in the front door, force the Dragons back, lest they lose their shield in a pinch, and there it is. So here's the attempt to force position, but Flair already comes straight on in, forces Immortality Field, that's down, and now he gets a couple slashes left with a blade to do some work. That work he does, he gets 2, and it's Prophet and Gesture, most importantly, that go down. Force the Immortality Field, and you saw Flair take a breath. He didn't push on with the rest of the blade until it was removed, and then he goes in and gets the job done.
And Gesture's got to go Wrecking Ball to even just try and get a touch here. Is they know it's necessary to do so. As Gesture rolls on through, he's going to take a long route around the outside. As Prophet does have a blade coming in here. A lot of ultimates available though for Shanghai.
Damn, a Millionaire and an Eminem reference all in one sentence, man. That's quite impressive. Prophet has a blade here, but Gesture's already gone down. No one sees him rolling now. To the point goes Prophet. Didn't really know if he'd find anyone, but he pulls out the blade for some extra protection. Everyone feels tougher when they're toting a samurai sword around, I guess. But Prophet isn't able to do much with it, and that'll be it. Nothing.
He got into a position, but then he realized it was over and just decided to wave the blade in the sky.
Yeah, it's like an anime convention. I mean, the blade's not going to do much damage, but you look impressive with it sometimes.
True. Yeah, I mean, it's...
You should know this. With all your anime convention experience, Matt, I thought you've been right on top of that reference.
I mean, yep. Everybody knows when they need questions about anime conventions, I'm the one to go to.
Actually, here's a fun one for those that are listening in live right now or watching on YouTube. There's been a thing going around where people are posting them and their anime sort of persona or like who they are most like, not who they want to be like, but who they are the most like. if you're listening and you're watching the anime, I want you to find Matt and his anime counterpart.
I wouldn't even know who they are.
No,
I
you
haven't
won't.
watched any anime.
That'll be fun because I had to explain it to you. We can check some of this replay here. Jagon notices the ball rolling behind him, but those Izayaki gets the job done. And yeah, Prophet.
Bash, knockback.
He doesn't have a dash anymore, so we can't reach Jagon anyway. He's stuck behind that pile of pipes.
And then Jagon just stands there with the rally, and he's like, well, here's your option. You can either come back and swing on me and I'll run, or you can stand there and just wiggle with the blade. And that's what Prophet decided to do is, look, this is you're in a position here where you're a DM headshot away from being in the finals. It's just,
Must
can
be
he find
nice. DM is right. Send his team. Give him a one-way ticket to another shot at glory against the winner of the NYXL and the Guangzhou Charge. I mean, that's a lot of damage. Look, he got owned by that deflect there. And Bedos and Destiny's trying to keep him back up. Again, testing those healing resources are the Dragons without taking much damage of their own. I don't know what deflect does in a nutshell, really. Prophet briefly stunned up there, but was able to get back to safety. Played a hit with an accretion, but the follow-up wasn't there.
And they can't completely just turn their backs on the choke. They have no idea where DM is playing at this time, so Seoul has to be really careful.
Well, point B. Oh, Void. I mean, this is really taking the definition of off-angle to extreme. The solo Sigma attack. And look at this. The Dynasty can't roll over the top of Void. It's the same problem they had on King's Row, Matt. Prophet, though, is able to find a couple of kills around the periphery, but still has got a lot to do, and that accretion is going to seal his fate. Flutter is down, but Void is still healthy on the point now. It has to be a blob, so at least there's been some time bought now, enough to get him back. Fitz finds two, and the Dragons may have to wait.
They're going to have to jump off. This is not enough for the Shanghai Dragons to get the point. As Gesture comes back on Wrecking Ball, he's going to go all the way back to the spawn and switch and come back on Orisa. Most likely. It looks like he was going all the way back, but I think he's now realized he wouldn't have had enough time. He's got to stay on the ball. Yeah, he started to go towards the spawn, and I think he probably thought he had more time than he did.
So the Wrecking Ball now, Seoul are stuck with this. They can't get Orisa back for what may be the most important fight for their entire month of play. They have to get value out of Gesture on the Wrecking Ball. There's no other way now. It's going to be a rally and gravitic flux, both used by the Dragons, and that yields on the kill on Fitz. So Prophet has to step up now with the blade. He doesn't have a supercharge because he doesn't have an Orisa on his team, and that could be an issue now. It's going to be an unassisted Dragon Blade. Prophet finds one. He needs more than that. Izayaki in his way, and Gesture, what a great follow-up with a pile driver to secure the kill. The dive works out for the Dynasty here, and with Fearless going down, the Dragons are in deep trouble. The Dynasty have managed to bring things back. A suboptimal situation with the Wrecking Ball map, and it's paying off.
Yes, it was a big pile driver that helped set up that Dragon Blade. As overtime now ticks up, as it looks like Lee Jae-gon will fall. Fleta trying to get a touch on the point. As it looks like Seoul Dynasty will be able to get this drop.
I mean, they're contesting still. The Dragons to keep this alive somehow. It is quite absurd.
No way they can keep this going.
Void rolling on in. Ocean's a little low, but yes, this one should be over now. Just a couple of extra Dragons players to filter onto the point. They will be evicted in due course. And that is impressive from the Seoul Dynasty, man. They're behind. They have to win the last fight with a Wrecking Ball, and they get the job done. And Prophet really steps up. Lovely little 1-2 punch with the ball and Genji.
And they lose their Ashe right at the beginning of that fight. They lose Fitz to the Gravitic Flux. That comes in from Void, and they're still able to win it. It's a nice pile driver from Gesture, set up a blade that comes in from Prophet. And I wonder if, now as we go into a map 4, as that's a draw, I know nobody gets the win, obviously, for that, do we have Michelle and Toby stay in the game? We don't know if that was just a switch for that map. We don't know if it was a switch for the rest of the series. It'll be interesting after the break who we see in for Seoul Dynasty.
I mean, reverse sweeps, Seoul Dynasty, Dragons. The script's already been written here. There was a draw there, though. Bear that in mind.
This
so
would be shocking.
Win.
If they're able to turn this, yeah.
I mean, the Dragons still only need to win one map. So that's something definitely worth bearing in mind. Stick around, ladies and gentlemen. The series isn't done yet. And despite there being a draw at the end of Oscar, it was quite the exciting conclusion. The Dynasty were able to do a whole lot with very little. They're going to have to keep doing that after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. for auto, home, or renters insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Well, just as it looked like the Seoul Dynasty would be knocked out of yet another of our monthly tournaments, they cling on, but it is by the skin of their teeth. They stay alive in this series by forcing the draw on Voskaya Industries, forcing a fourth map in this series, which, Matt, is going to be Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Yeah, with a lot of Widowmaker play you could have here on Gibraltar, and then on the other side, a lot of opportunity to dive, right? We've seen a lot of Winston play, a lot of high ground verticality. Genji good here on Gibraltar too, a little bit more spread out, and opportunity to put pressure on a Widowmaker in a solo type of play with a Genji. So it'll be interesting to see what Seoul brings to the table here, and I think more specifically who they bring.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been looking out for the substitutions now as Toby and Michelle came in after half-time and looked solid. To be fair, we said, what is Michelle doing? Is he playing Zaya or, Diva? Obviously, no. He's been putting in plenty of work on the Sigma, and the composition for the Dynasty remained fairly unchanged. So clearly, they had expected them to come in on that particular map, and they did well. They gave a good account of themselves.
And I don't think a lot of people thought Michelle was bad in the off-tank role. No, maybe he's not the same level as Void, let's say, right? But I think there are very few players in the league that are. I think Marvel has turned himself into a good off-tank, really primarily Sigma. That's where Marvel's really good. It just lacks some of the flexibility to go over and play a diva at a really high level.
Unfortunately, that's not really been required thus far. It's Sigma Orisa all the way. You mentioned, of course, that there is some dive potential on Gibraltar here. We've seen a lot of teams go for it. We've even seen teams play Genji Tracer, Winston Diva, with an Ana in the mix somehow. The question to you is Ana enough to facilitate, is to set up your Winston here? Because we've seen Seoul to try and play around a Winston pick, try and use Zaya. And I don't really see Zaya getting a ton of value on Gibraltar.
You can play Ana here on Gibraltar. There's a lot of high ground control, right? You can keep the Ana pretty safe, especially if the other team's not running a lot of dive heroes to kind of access her in the back line. High ground Ana here on Gibraltar is really strong. A good position for biotic grenades. Obviously the nano boosts and heals at range for the Winston. Maybe we see something like that at the start. It's just that Baptiste offers so much, and then same with Brigitte. You would never sub out the Brig. The Brig's kind of essential in all dive.
Yep.
Maybe you can make a case to have the Ana instead of the Baptiste.
Isn't it so interesting that Brig is just so important because her crowd control ability completely outweighs the fact that she generally has fairly low healing throughput outside of using rally.
I think it's also the fact that she can armor up the flankers as they go in. Having a Genji or Tracer, whichever one you want, have 2 armor packs and then be able to go in. Heroes do reduce damage to armor. It makes them really kind of tanky. And then those heroes have high burst potential. So you have a tanky hero with high burst potential. That's where Brig really kind of empowers you on the offensive end, but then also, like you mentioned, defensively with the whip shot, with the bash, etc.
And of course, the armor packs are pretty powerful against heroes whose damage is sort of cumulative, right? It doesn't really do anything to burst damage, but when it comes in small amounts like Genji Shurikens or maybe Tracer, it makes a big difference. We are still waiting on both of these rosters to be ready, but so far it looks like there'll be no substitution for Seoul.
It looks like we will have one for Shanghai potentially. So it looks like the spot that DM had was open, so maybe we see somebody come in here for DM or map 4. Don't know yet. I think DM's been strong on the Widow, but maybe they feel like they need a different option here. Maybe they feel like they need some type of Ash potential or a Tracer. It'll be Lip that comes in.
Yeah, so Lip comes in. Obviously, Lip is played a ton of Reaper. We know him as someone who plays plenty of Widow, also the Tracer, so they might be looking for a little bit more flexibility in the area. DM also is a huge Tracer player as well, so I wonder if there's anything specific. Maybe Doomfist? I doubt it.
Well, no, I think this gives them the option to play really a lot of different things. Tracer, Widow, it allows them to play Genji Widow. They can play Genji Tracer if you wanted here. I think it just gives them a little bit of a wider hero pool to cast from than what DM offers.
It's a shame Ding sat there on the bench like, well, no one's playing Pharah really right now. Or
nobody needs Sombra all the time,
or Doomfist, so I'm a chill. I'm a chill here and just wait for you guys to bring me back in. So Lip comes in. He's impressed a lot of us, of course, as a rookie, quote unquote, in terms of the Overwatch League this year. I mean, when he started on this team, and obviously Stan 1 was being used much more earlier on in the season. Both were quite impressive. There's even been hints of, maybe, where did I read it? That Gaggery was floating around the starting roster a little bit more, maybe expecting to see more play somewhere down the track in the future. So the Dragons, I mean, bear in mind, this is a 12-player roster, and they've got a ton of options. 5 DPS players, of course.
And it's not a 12-player roster that has players that you don't think can play, right? I mean, every player on this roster, like, if they weren't on this team, would probably be a starter on just about every other team in the league. Like, it is a stacked roster a la the San Francisco Shock.
That is true, but if I saw Dia start in a series, I would definitely be surprised. We haven't seen too much.
We haven't seen him in a very long time. I think the last time we saw Dia, what we casted was like, last year I think they played him on an Anubis and he played Ash.
Yeah, randomly.
He played randomly and he actually played quite well. They were able to win it.
Oh man, good times. Yeah, and of course, I mean, and then remember the Seoul Dynasty, we had to cast that. It was like a tiebreaker match in stage 1. It was
the one that nobody's ever seen.
Yeah, no one's seen that match. It was Seoul versus San Francisco. And the best part was, like, I kind of like to tease people about it a little bit because a lot of people were like not happy that it wasn't broadcast or whatever. It was a crap match. It was awful. It was
there wasn't really much to see.
Oh, it was so bad. Like they just like when like Super talks about main tank difference. Like I have never seen more of an MTD match than that one. It was just it was horrible.
Back in the age of goats and whatnot.
I mean, like, the shot could have put Nomi into that match at main tank and probably it could have smashed him. So. Yeah, but obviously that Seoul Dynasty roster, that's when we first started to see players like Michelle, like Marvel, come into the mix there, and they've impressed us a ton over the last year. I can go all day. Like we have Phil stories from the last couple of months. I don't get out much these days, like hopefully most of you. So I'm happy to unload. I've gotten old already. I've got plenty of stories to unload.
You've gotten old.
Yeah.
So how old have you gotten?
So
because I must be ancient.
Then. Well, listen, certain events in your life can age you quicker than others. That's all I'll say. But I think that the day you're old is when you realize you need to buy a pumice stone for your feet. When you have calluses on your feet because you walked the earth, you know what I mean? You've been out there. Now, it might just been because I've been to, Starbucks every day. That could be where my counsels are coming from. Probably not, though. But that's where I feel like I'm old and wizened, you know what I mean? Now I'm in a position to lecture to young whippersnappers about this Overwatch game that came back all the way back in, came out in 2016, was it? So long ago now, Matt. Crazy.
It feels like ages ago now.
Crazy, we're still here, bro. Still doing. Okay,
we've done it. I don't know what kind of story that was. You tell Mitch hasn't filled in a while with the some of his stories.
It's 2:30 a.m. I'm in your house with bad jokes.
Yeah.
what are we gonna do? It looks like there is there is a roster problem, a substitution issue, and I will quote the Seoul coach. Someone's asked, I think admin was asking when the match would be started. Seoul coach says, just Seoul coach, when the problem is solved about roster, we don't accept that sub. So there looks like there's a
looks like there's some kind of a little bit of a confusion here. So we'll keep you guys updated when we get filled in on what's going on. But for now, Lip is in for the Shanghai Dragons. We will see what happens with that. That is the only sub that's gone on, so I assume that is the sub in question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Seoul, maybe it could be, I don't really quite understand, maybe that Seoul was not notified about that, but I don't really know if they have to be. I don't actually know about how league operations works.
Yeah, we're not coaches, so we wouldn't really know, right?
No. I mean, if anyone's looking, I mean, as long as they don't have to coach at like 5 a.m., we can maybe talk about it. I mean, maybe Matt also might be a better candidate, but I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, and I want to see them play Lip here, just because I'm interested in why the substitution comes into play. It's like Gibraltar's a pretty good Widowmaker map overall. It looks like bringing in Lip is a little bit of an odd substitution here, although he can play everything and he has been super sick.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I don't really know if his hero pool differs enough, from DMs to really make a lot of sense in terms of the substitution, but we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break because I need to go to Funny or Die and get some old jokes and recycle them for my next few casts. But when we return, we will hopefully have Watchpoint Gibraltar kicking off. Remember, it's 2-0 in favor of the Dragons after a draw in the third map of Volskaya. That's all you need to know for now. You've already heard plenty that you don't. We'll see you in a few moments. gentlemen, we are moments away from jumping into Watch Point Gibraltar, our fourth map in this series. And it's a map that, by the way, has been really good for the Dragons in the past. They are 4-0 so far on Gibraltar map, whereas the Dynasty are 1-3, 1-2 on this map. So a little bit less of a sterling record.
It's so hard to look at map statistics from this season because
I have nothing else left to look at,
polls
Matt.
and whatnot.
We're filling time, bro. I'm just looking at stuff.
Okay, I'm just pointing it out for the Seoul Dynasty fans that they shouldn't feel as discouraged because, you know, who knows what the meta was those weeks. The meta changes, you know, week to week, even when hero pools are completely unlocked, right? So, I think you picked this map for a reason. If you're Seoul Dynasty, you probably feel like you've worked out some strategies, or what you want to try and enforce is better on this map.
Well, yeah, we'll see. So they want to work with that dive setup that they really haven't tried to use since Ilios. We're still talking about it because we are kind of excited for to see them try it again. Even if the results last time around were maybe less than stellar, Gibraltar is that kind of map. It's a map where you can play this stuff, you can get away with it, you can play this composition, right? The Zarya is going to be in, which is what's most interesting to me. I love this. It's interesting. It's going to give a lot of extra support for Gesture, as well as Bedosin as well on the Ana. So it is the Ilios composition. We teased it out, and it's going to be a dive defense from the Dynasty with Echo here, which we don't see much of at the moment.
And we'll see what happens with Shanghai on offense. They could mirror this with their own dive. They could play Fleta on like Ashe and then Lip on like a Sombra. So Shanghai with a ton of options as well. As you see, Lip is in. So
Zarya on Gibraltar, man. I don't know. It's crazy.
It just helps the Winston, right? Like with the bubble, like denying like shield bash and other types of things. Like it just provides a little bit a better scenario for your Winston here.
Well, Felix drops in and then drops down, but they're going to be switching over towards the Echo now, just to match. And both teams playing with Sombra. Oh dear. Oh dear.
You're dead.
Yep. Fitz looks like he had that health pack taken out from under him. Maybe the Dynasty weren't expecting this from the Dragons, but they saw Liv get subbed in. They had to expect there was something a little different to be shown. And I mean, Prophet, yeah, look, he just took a lot of poke damage and got caught inside that focusing beam a little too long.
This is bad for Seoul Dynasty. You can't have your players getting taken out one by one here, as you see Michelle in a tough situation. Same with Gesture. Nice body block of the door there from Void. You also have Lee J. God in the doorway. So looks like some members for Seoul Dynasty backing on out. Fitz, he might be able to get a touch on the card, but he'll be the only one close. Look at the spawn cam coming in.
Yeah, he heads on back here. There's
Yeah,
really not much to be done. There would never have been any reinforcements. And who's he trying to solo kill? Maybe an Ana? Maybe. Out that spawn camp, sees Gesture a little bit caught out. He got the Zarya bubble. He's able to take to the high ground now, but he is low. Sticky bombs all connected from Fleta. Follow up there. If he had that flight, a focusing beam, it would have been one dead Winston. Gesture doesn't realize it, but should be counting his lucky stars.
Dude, but look at, because you haven't gotten fights here for Seoul Dynasty, like Fitz is just halfway to his EMP.
Did that hack go off? It did. All right.
Yeah.
Prophet was still able to gain some altitude though.
They know that Fitz is here somewhere. Let's see if had a 360 shots coming in.
That's EMP on the high ground. It catches 3, Fitz included, but Gesture was the one to get blown up. There is so much burst damage to be leveled at him after that EMP comes out. Now,
they nano Toby here as well.
Maybe trying to build up a quick rally? I mean, he's got it. He's able to use it here. And with Void going down now, there's no shield, of course, at all to speak of.
Shanghai can just back out of this. I mean, they're going to lose players. They'll lose this fight. Just kind of run away. They'll come back with a nano plus a rally of their own Rav here. So Shanghai in a position to take this next point. Look at how close the card is to doing it. Now you have all these ultimates to work with.
Yeah, they may be. I mean, they use an EMP and don't win the fight, which is a little bit rough, considering that Fitz wasn't even close to his. Fitz can still cause them a lot of problems. You talk about all these ultimates, and they are nice, but I mean, that can still get completely derailed by a good EMP. The lot put on Fitz's shoulders, to be fair, but that's kind of how Sombra has to operate. Especially when you're trying to stop or slow down momentum from attacking teams. So Duplicate makes 2 Winstons here, but Michelle gets burst down awfully quick. Fleta's able to back away there. It looked like Michelle didn't quite get towards that Graviton surge, but Void did. Fearless leaps upon Fitz, who gives that EMP to minimal effect as far as we can see. And what a horrendous fight from the Seoul Dynasty. Actually torrid.
I mean, they didn't have a lot to work with for the fight. Shanghai definitely came in with an ultimate advantage.
Would you say that? Would you say that duplicate primal and
I mean,
EMP
it's still
is
not
not
good,
a lot?
right? I mean, yeah, it is a lot, but I mean, when Shanghai was coming in, they had pretty much like all their big ultimates, right? They had the Graviton Surge, they had Duplicate, they had Nano, they had Rally. I mean, that's a lot of high impact ones, especially Boast of Portal. Lip will take out Profit here.
Another EMP build up by him. He's just doing so much harassment. Now, lost Izayaki already. Nano boost onto his gesture, but he didn't have any mobility. He couldn't get away from all the scrutiny he was suffering. Michelle charged up, ready to go, pressuring Void down. Michelle's having to get that healing now and wants to push back a little bit more, but needs to respect the damage that could be coming. Lip there. Not really what he was hoping for from that EMP setup. His team still ended up losing to the Nanoed Winston. The Dragons might just have to take a breath here. No, okay, no, forget about it. Keep playing the game.
And they use the grab, a solo grab there onto Fitz when he's on the payload. They want to get rid of that Sombra, and they value it so much. They take him out. Now you can sort of move the payload, getting very close to that home stretch.
Yeah, what do they do now with the Sombra not in play? I mean, Fitz is going to be back in the fight now, so that Graviton Surge has kind of served its purpose, or as much of a purpose as it could have served. That is, I mean, that is what Echo's going to offer you there. Fletter just spots Profit out and stays trained on him there. Sticky bombs and the focusing beam to secure the kill. Vidosi's in grave danger. He goes extremely low and eventually is picked off by Fletter now. The sticky bombs across the map. And Michelle's in trouble. He's boomed. Mental out the window.
Yes, that'll be Shanghai Dragons completing the map with the 3-13 in the time bank. Like you mentioned, this is a very good map for Shanghai in the past over other metas. And then Seoul Dynasty historically has struggled on this map, but the metas are different. Still kind of looks like we're seeing the same result, though.
The Dynasty now, we get to see their sort of dive set up on defense. It doesn't look special here because the Dragons play a similar composition, and arguably they get a bit more value out of especially the Echo play. Fletter gets 8 final blows for the round. Some moments here from Izayaki. T gets hacked. Does he try to go for the Nano? Still, it doesn't get the Nano off there. Fearless actually hit with a body grenade, and they're still able to get a big fight win here.
EMP towards the end, they just kind of bring the card on through here after. So, Fearless will finish off too. The cart goes all the way the distance. So now we'll see Seoul Dynasty's attack. What they want to go with the... Most likely, you probably play the Echo again. You kind of play Shanghai in the mirror. See if they have a better chance to get anything done on offense.
8 final blows, 2 deaths for Flettermat. That's as many kills as the Dynasty got themselves, so making a huge difference here. And we talked about Profit on the Echo, man. We said at the start of the series, he just didn't look as comfortable. We thought he'd look better on Genji. The problem is his Genji's great. It's just the composition that goes with the Genji didn't look as good for Seoul. So he's forced now to go back to this Echo and has not been able to match impact here. Lip is missing early, though.
Yeah, I mean, the pick on the Sombra is pretty big, right? I mean, Sombra needs to stay alive, get some free fire from the back, being able to just charge up that EMP. Lip, I mean, did get a good amount of damage early, but still, maybe Fitz will be able to match some of that now.
Yeah, the Dynasty haven't really made a ton of progress. There's still the issue of getting the cart moving, and they might have caught Fearless here, yeah. And they still get a trade for it, which is what's so astonishing. Taking Profit out of the mix as well is quite a big deal. This is what Let's theoretically would have let Lip flank, but he's forced to translocate from Fitz trying to hack him.
And Lip just playing so aggressive. I mean, just getting in there, even risking his life, just to farm up that EMP. It's Seoul Dynasty. Start to group up here, try and press the attack, because they have nobody on the cart. So they want to just try and get this high ground first.
Yeah, I think they're trying to take control of that. Izayaki just hit a gigantic biting grenade that basically bought him as much time as a team fight. Win, that is. Dragons happy about that, yeah. Lip's just chomping at the bit to try and get the first EMP here, just to start the snowball in the favor of the Dragons. Void has the high ground, drops down now. Bubble delivered, he's relatively charged up and hoping to get a bit more. And gestures down, the tip of the spear has gone by the wayside for the Dynasty.
now you're going to be able to get this EMP. They're going to be inside a server room. You can kind of play around this. We'll see where Seoul Dynasty goes and when Lip decides to use this EMP. A lot of other ultimates coming online for the Shanghai Dragons here as well.
Again, it's all bluster here for the Dynasty, man. All this while, the payload is sat there in that underpass now. Limp goes for an EMP now with Flatter out of the mix, hoping to try and make a difference here. And Fearless with the Primal Rage inside the server room could be exactly what they're looking for. He's hit with a body grenade, and great grab. It had to be there from Michelle. It doesn't look flashy to have to do that, but that's the only way you contain a Winston who's going mental onto your team after they hit with an EMP. There's just not a lot else you can do about that one. The Dragons here have a Graviton Surge of their own to hold in place, and Fletter's going to go for a duplicate to Winston himself. He's going to get close to a Primal Rage, and yep, he's there. Kobe on the car trying to keep things going. Jagon is hacked, forced on back. Fearless there, and Fletter steps up, man. Even with the EMP in place, he still has a primal stall factor.
Yes, they're going to be able to live through this EMP, and they're going to be able to keep fighting on the point for the Dragons. So Seoul Dynasty down to only a minute 20 here. It'll be rally as well for Shanghai. So they lose Izayaki. That's a big loss.
Yeah, great duplicate there from Prophet just in the nick of time. He was looking to be picked up there. Fletter's able to find Toby though, so there's no healers left here for the Seoul Dynasty. They look like they've been run absolutely ragged. Prophet at least able to get the Primal Rage, but nobody else on the Dynasty is there to step up in lieu of any healers except Prophet, who gets rid of Jagon, but Lip comes back in, and yeah, that's an EMP. Nice little cinematic camera angle there. Sets that up perfectly. Lip steps back, and again, both teams have tried to fight without follow-up in the last couple of moments, Matt.
Still, it's just burning this clock. Shanghai just throwing themselves at the point. Prophet takes out Izayaki again, so you lose your Ana for the second fight in a row really early. This should be enough to get Seoul Dynasty point A, and it is.
And we'll get there, the Dynasty, not with much time left. Good burn on the clock. 2 minutes and 50 remain for Seoul. And now coming into this next fight, the win condition seems pretty clear. It's use Fitz to control the top of the shuttle here, whether it's the threat of the EMP or the ultimate itself, and turn it into some more car push.
Seoul Dynasty just trying to get some space here. They have the EMPs. It only connects with 2. It connects with Void and Lee Jae-gon. Is that enough to win this fight? It looks like it might be at this moment in time. Looks like Michelle all charged up on the high ground, drops down. Be able to get some kills here. Is Seoul, with just using that EMP, eventually they have 5 ultimates now to get point B.
It's actually crazy. Winning a team fight with just one ultimate like that can have ramifications further down the line, like really positive outcomes that you may not even realize are as a result of that. We have a duplicated Sombra here, so Prophet now wants to go 2 fights in a row with the door. I mean, that's perfect. No way they were going to get to the car. Prophet now, this duplicate looks so big brain. He can just pop an EMP off at the end of the fight here. It's too really big to be there.
Yeah, celebration EMP there from Prophet is now Seoul Dynasty. I was going to say with a chance to kind of match Shanghai's time, but you see how fast Shanghai was that even with that really fast point B take, they kind of ran through the shuttle phase. They don't have an opportunity to fast Shanghai Dragons time.
Yeah, it's crazy, right, that they're still behind after such a quick second phase. That's that clock burn on point A. So what's Lip looking for here? Well, face full of sticky bombs was on the menu just now, and that's healed up pretty comfortably. Finn's trying to get the hack, and there's no EMP available now. By the looks of things, Jagon taken down. That is beautiful. It's just perfect. Fantastic stuff. Lip does eventually get an EMP off, but much of the Dragons have already been dashed aside. Izayaki now just trying to stall on the cart. That's a cheeky self-fighting grenade to keep him alive. And he's still alive. He's still healed up. Another, he's got a health pack.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wasn't able to stall after a while though. The car was still pushing.
Yeah, but they're going to have rally here from Lee Jae-gon, and they're going to also have the duplicate coming in from Fleta. Maybe you duplicate a Winston and you're able to make a play.
Let down once more. Fleta is, yeah, duplicating. That is crazy. Going for a break, so there could be a second rally in this fight. Fearless not happy about that one. He got banana boost as well, but it's not going to get much value out of it at all. And Fleta, because his Winston was asleep, he couldn't come forward and start swinging the flail, so there's no extra rally. Still, the threat of the sleeping nanoed Winston was enough to hold the Dynasty back for the time being. Michelle goes for a grab ostensibly on the cart, and it yields the kill on Jagon, but it's a 1-for-1 trade, and Gesture is down, man.
Yeah, and Prophet will use a duplicate here onto Fearless, so he'll turn into Winston as he'll earn himself a Primal Rage. As Fleta now coming out of the spawn of the Doomfist. Can he make a play? Gets stunned right in the middle, trying to go with an uppercut here, maybe, surely. Nope, doesn't even get it off, as Void will get on the card, just try and touch. Seoul Dynasty will finish with 1:21 on the clock.
It's just crazy how easy it is to forget how much of an impact Echo can have, especially with you when you have duplication targets like Sombra and Winston and Brigitte. It's insane what you can do. Like, both teams trying to go for extra EMP. Seoul very greedy to go for that second EMP in the shuttle phase, but you know, Fleta had the right idea, right? Copy Brig and try and maybe get a second rally. That didn't work out, and the Shanghai Dragons sort of lost out on echo value across that round.
The sleep dart from Badoshin was nuts, right? Like when Fearless jumps in the sky and the bubble's coming down, he's able to just hit that sleep dart at the perfect time, and he sleeps him and he's inside his own bubble. Just really nice play there from Badoshin. Because like you mentioned, when they duplicate the Brig, they're going to try and push up, get Rally. He only gets a 50% of it. And that's really because there was no opportunity to follow it up.
Fitz, really good round from him. He's up to 11 final blows, 6 deaths. Profit is 11 and 7. So again, on the Sombra, Fitz is getting involved and completing a lot of these kills. And what a perfect manual hack on Lip to prevent the EMP from coming out in the timing that the Dragons would have liked it. That really made it hard for them. Good disruption from the Dynasty. And of course, Profit starting to look a lot better on Echo. They're at least able to match Fleta's contribution. Shanghai will be on defense here with a bigger time bank.
It's so interesting because we've obviously been doing the NA matches for a very long time now. We haven't done any of the APAC ones really since the beginning of May.
Yeah.
Just how different the meta is on this map between what we see in the NA region as opposed to this. I mean, you barely kind of see Echo right now in NA. He's not really a lot of Sombra or Winston, Zarya.
No.
Just a much different game.
We do get, in fairness, we do get a fair bit. Oh, Fitz is done. Yep, nice little combo there. Izzyaki fires off the dart before the grenade comes out.
You'll see the Ana come out here on Gibraltar pretty consistently.
We've seen a bit of, what was that? Was that Vancouver Titans versus Boston Uprising? Was that match? We saw like a bunch of like Winston here on this map with the Ana in the mix.
It may have been, yeah. But I think Vancouver's one of the teams in NA that really likes to play Echo pretty consistently. Shockwave's very strong on the hero, Seoul Dynasty needs to get something going here. You cannot allow the card to stall out here, especially with Shanghai going on the attack with over 3 minutes.
See, Izzyaki was put under a fair bit of pressure there. He had multiple targets to try and keep healed up at the time. Nano boost here for both sides, so who's Winston is better able to get onto priority targets in the next few moments than on the side to fight. Jester goes in, not bad at all, finds Jago, but Fleta finds Profit, which is a better or higher value kill, I wonder. Jester's going to get burned down by Fleta there without focusing beam even. And Fearless is close to a primal if he stays alive.
Yeah, they know they just need to live a little bit. That'll be the EMP coming on through. Fleta, the duplicate here onto a Zarya, and Fearless with the primal rage. This'll be where the payload stops for the Seoul Dynasty. Shanghai with a good defense.
Well, for the second map in a row, the Seoul Dynasty will be issued a very tall order to try and stay in the series. First, it was on Volskaya Industries, an unlikely hold on point A in extra innings. Now, oh dear, that cart is...
Well, it could be worse. It was almost on the other side of the underpass.
Silver linings, Matt. You've got plenty of them. This was Izzyaki. I mentioned he was under a lot of pressure.
Is this a sleep?
Yeah, this is the sleep on Fitz that sets up that early peak. Fires off a dart, throws a grenade at the same time, and easy kill. And that's essentially a solo kill there for the Ana.
Pretty much.
The setup and the completion. Really nice from him. That was Izzyak's only final blow for the map.
And this puts Seoul Dynasty in the top position because with 3 minutes and 13 seconds, you kind of play, you have so much time here to work with. If you're Shanghai, you're allowed to just kind of build up to the EMP. You don't have to waste any of these ultimates, where Seoul Dynasty is going to be forced to invest, you know, if there's 2-3 fights, let's say.
Talk about Zarya sometimes struggling to do much on maps without big chokes that sort of have verticality and sort of it's harder to force the enemy to shoot into your bubbles. Void is topping the damage by a considerable margin on the side of the Dragons here, getting a lot of value out of the shields. Both he and Michelle have about 7.6k damage blocked, so both Zaryas pretty much neck and neck in most of the key metrics here. And that may be why Michelle got brought in the first place. We'd expect to see a composition like this come out. Flutter is going to be on the Echo here, though. And the Dragons, I mean, their win condition map, theoretically, just one fight, right?
Yeah, and I think what the Dragons can do here is you don't exactly have to play for this high ground right away. You can move the card underneath the bridge and force Seoul Dynasty down. But now with that first kill, with that first kill, you're gonna get them to back up right away. Well, I mean, what you would do is like send the Winston to the high ground, right? Like put down some damage with your Echo and let's say Sombra, then you can have some other players move the card underneath. You don't necessarily need the shield in that position.
A lot of teams, of course, when they play shield comps, just go 6 players on card and force enemy teams to respond. But that would be pretty inadvisable here for the Dragons to do. Still, Izayaki is trying to keep his backline healed up. Look how low they both are. Still, the fact that Izayaki can play from here means that the Dragons have gained a fair bit of ground. The Dynasty now has to play on the other side of this underpass.
And you'll have a nano boost here for the Shanghai Dragons. You can initiate this. Fearless, getting the nano.
Lib, backing up, doing the old Brennan Hook back pedal. Love to see it. Okay, so here's the nano boost we're talking about. Matt Fearless, Zika for Finn forces the translocate Michelle. We see one blinding grenade by Izayaki there. But Fearless doesn't have to follow it up. He knew that Michelle would be out of the fight for quite some time, and that'll be it. There's a big EMP from the Dynasty. 6 players caught here. Put the rower to break line of sight. They back away. Bubble onto Fearless after he slept, so he can't be taken down. It's just Bidosin up against his old roster. Tough way to go out, but them's the breaks. And the Shanghai Dragons will be advancing to the grand finals of our Summer Showdown.
Yeah, no, not too surprising that Shanghai advances. I know in 3-0 fashion, there was a draw in there where Seoul Dynasty looked good. Towards the end there, it was really tough. When Fearless gets that nano boost and he jumps over the top, Gesture has to stay on the payload to keep it contested. So can't kind of go in the back and try and help his backline. But what's worse than not being able to go help your backline, he just gets burnt down by everybody else. Nobody else goes forward with Fearless. They know they don't need to. He's creating enough space. And they just all focus down Gesture. Nobody's within line of sight to heal him.
No, it's risky to play this style. It's always been the case that these sort of dive-centric compositions are opening up to a lot of risk and can cause a lot of volatility in how a map goes. It rarely are they one-sided when you have 2 teams just running at each other in the chaos. It's quite fun to watch, though, and it's nice to see a little bit of change of pace there. More of that somber inclusion. The Echo now as well, you can just see how much, I mean, you are just putting Echo with a team of heroes with huge high-impact ultimates. And in this case, playing Echo against that as well. So you want another Graviton Surge. I guess you could copy Azaya. You could do it with Sombra. You know, the rally is so important for Brigitte. It kind of justifies her presence there, especially when, like I said before, it's only really the repair pack and Inspire healing that you get from her. So the Dragons look comfortable, and they look comfortable in different modes, right? Not only the double shield, which is definitely the bread and butter for so many teams, but when maps like Volskaya, Gibraltar start coming around, they've shown that they have the depth to deal with those pretty comfortably.
Yes, as Shanghai, I think, without question, cements themselves as the top of APAC. I think we just need to see who will advance to try and dethrone them, right? As I feel like with the win of this match, they're the team to beat, without question.
Let's take our chance now to celebrate and highlight our player of the match presented to you by Xfinity. And, I mean, it's pretty unanimous. We saw some great plays across the entirety of the Dragons roster, but I'm really so often to mistakes right now. But Void, I have to say, over this series looked excellent. Michelle was subbed in by the Dynasty to play the Zaya, but Void just switched to it. Not a problem at all. It's incredible how far this guy has come. Sigma players are really important right now. I believe Void is a big reason why the Dragons were able to look so good on King's Row on that attack, and across the whole series, impact.
Consistent difference maker for the Shanghai Dragons. You can see where Seoul Dynasty need to make some adjustments. We did have a really nice showing from Diem in 2 maps. They do have the draw, right? You know, he was impactful on the Widowmaker, but I think when you see as we go over to Gibraltar, they bring in Lip. They're still a very strong team, and I think the off tank was probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, difference today.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from the Dragons, as per usual. What is that? It makes it 10 wins in a row now, I want to say.
It's kind of like them and the Shock, right? I think the Shock, they've won like 8 or 9 in a row, and the Dragons, like, you know, they've almost won like 10 in a row as well.
But I will say this, before Dragons fans get too chirpy, you know, the team still has, you know, they need to put on performances like this consistently because they are still in terms of the win-loss difference, they're still ranked 16th in the league, of course. So they're 32 and 57 overall in their period of time.
Like I was like, wait, they're pretty good this year. They don't really have to prove much of anything.
32 and 57 over the course of the franchise, right? But
they were 0-40.
Yep, they were 0-40. I'm just saying, you know, I mean, they're still not at 500 yet, but I mean, look, this season, what a comeback it would be for them just to turn the fortunes of the entire franchise around. God, I want to see them play up against a team like the Shock and see what they can do. I really only think it's a couple teams in APAC and one team in NA that can really hold a candle to these Dragons right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think with the way that the Dragons have looked, they definitely, I mean, what, you kind of look at the Shock, maybe you kind of have a team like Philly up there in NA, but I think really
Philly,
Shanghai.
I mean, they get trioed by the Shock, right?
Right.
I don't know.
I think though, like you look at Shanghai, I think Guangzhou and New York, which is the matchup we have coming up next. Like those are the clear-cut 3 best teams in Asia right now.
Yep, no doubt about it. It's going to be quite the battle here. The Dragons now eagerly await their opponents in the grand final to be played later on today. But we need to see who'll be facing them. The Guangzhou Charge have looked very, very good. I think it's like a 9-match winning streak for them on the trot. Up against the NYXL, of course, sporting a whole host of different secret weapons now, of course, adding even more to the mix. I want to see what they look like with Genji in the pool. And you won't have to wait too long. Stick around. That match is coming up. Our second semi-final is moments away. This is the Overwatch League Summer Showdown semi-finals.